special back-to-school meeting of the Board of Trustees. First item on our agenda is the invocation and pledge of allegiance. I'll turn that over to Vice Chair. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us here over this session to be with us tonight as we sit in and do work in Lexington 2 more weeks. For all these tough times we ask you with our teachers, our students. We thank you for our staff and administration, Lord. We ask you to continue to bless them and be our guide in which way we need to go. Just to keep us safe, Lord. We ask you to sit in and make sure everything we do is pleasing in your sight. Now, Lord, we ask you to bless each and every one here. In that, your name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. King. Next is our consent agenda. Without objection, the consent agenda is being approved. We move to unfinished business, which there is no unfinished business, so we get to move to new business. First item is consideration of revisions to the 2020-2021 calendar.
Yes, sir, Mr. Clinton, if you look in your package, there's a calendar revised based on a September 8th start date for students. It includes 190 days for teachers, 180 days for students, the required days for weather makeup, and all required holidays. It also has 2 weeks in December for winter break and spring break in April. We asked that the board approve this based on the change of the start date last meeting until September 8th.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the administration's recommendation for approval of the revision of 2021 calendar to December.
All right, we have a motion to approve the calendar. We have a second by Mr. King. Any discussion? All right, being no discussion, we have a motion and a second to approve the calendar as presented. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next is consideration of approval of use of Georgia out there and daycare facility.
Yes, sir, Mr. Bingham. One of the things that we talked about is the fact that we would like to have daycare in this district. At some point in time, I just didn't know that Don and Danny were going to come to a resolution quite as fast, but Don has some comments put forward, and we've got Danny and folks still trying to explain where we're going. Hopefully, this is the beginning of a really good partnership for our team. Don, you come in and see where you're going.
Sure. Mr. Chairman of the board, I'm we're fortunate to have with us tonight Danny Still, CEO. There we also have our first one for the bank, boys and girls club. So we anticipate there might be some questions that about the program, things like that. We can help work through this. We are excited about the fact that we've been able to come together in a very short period of time. And our goal was to try to offer a program option for our employees, like people with finish, and the employees that still those. Because we realize that at the same time, one, our employees are looking for quality care. We're also looking at a place where they might be able to offer an option for older children that might be on a hybrid type schedule that we're looking at 3 days a week. So we also were looking at trying to create something that would meet the schedule that our employees have. There's a good possibility that teachers will be asked to start earlier, and it's difficult because students they'll need one earlier place to drop their children off. So we worked out, Lord, I pair that they previously. And I think, also earlier, indicated that we like to do this, option. We've done that. We were finding difficulty getting through the permitting process, with the Department of Social Services. So Danny had a meeting with United Way. United Way basically recommended that he talk to the referral club. As you know, we've already had, some experience with the Girls Club. They run programs in our district for a few years now. They also run, essential worker, daycare over at Riverbank this summer for basically the nurses, doctors, so on and so forth, that were essential workers, and mostly, I guess, the hospital. So that's coming to an end this Friday. And those folks are going to be looking for a place, I think, in the house here. But what we've worked out with them, we've worked out occupancy for the Zillow's employees and our employees, like school district 2, have first opportunity to enroll in this program. So tonight, they have some better we understand. So part of what we're trying to do here is get the schedule of our employees, often earlier, so start at 6:30, and we'll go later. As much childcare is better moving 30 to 15. So you're looking at 12 hours of care for our employees' children if they so choose to take advantage of that. Also, we're looking at getting free internet access for all of the students that basically go there and will need to have access to the internet during the day, while we're not doing the virtual part of the hybrid schedule, or the remote part. So again, we felt like that was kind of unique. I imagine several of the child care around are going to transition in that direction, but I don't know that they've gotten it yet. So with that said, we are asking the board for formal approval to release Georgia iPair to still host, in an effort to partner with them and offer this program to still host and the employees of Lexington School District 2. So we'd like to entertain a motion to approve of that partnership with still host to release them that facility.
Chair, I make a motion that we approve the partnership with Bill for back. Motion out there. Have a motion on second. Second on discussion. All right, discussion.
They release these, if they're in amount, that's $1. We're trying to make this revenue neutral. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't see that everybody. And talking with the girls, so we got to discuss today. They're hoping not to. There will be some expenses, they will reimburse us for those expenses. But, it's not that good. So, let's just move forward.
And I'm fine with that, but I don't know if this would be the appropriate time to ask this question, but I did have other questions about teachers and their own children during the school day, when we're doing virtual, if we would be appropriate here, or if we wait time to virtual.
I'll try to answer anything you got for it.
Okay, thank you. So, I know, or I understand that Lexington 1 is attempting, or maybe district is attempting to allow, I'm not sure if people come to school as a student or where it is, they're attempting to allow their teachers whose children are school age children, so not babies, but before they can take their
about what's actually going on there, talking to people, very little specifically. Because we had folks who were writing goals days and lessons points off in 3 days, that's not exactly accurate. What Greg told me is they're still in the study phase, whether or not they offer. The second thing is it won't be all those people who they're getting created and problems that they over every year they have. He said it is not sustainable, it's not something that they can do it for the entire year. He thinks about part. What they're supposed to is that they will have children from child home to volunteer children. Quite honestly, no, we haven't given that much consideration before. There's too many variables in there. I think just know my child having to deal with child care, start child care, once we get closed out, but they so do it for a month. Seems like inconvenience rather than guilt. Additionally, depending on volunteers, if you have no volunteers on your home, very sick, you've got uncle that has children that they don't have anybody to do them. So will Lexington one home 3 day here? I'm not sure. I know that the other day, Greg, that they were still trying to plan. But I also know it's not planned for it to be year long, it's planned for it to be about a month. But based on volunteers, jobs, it's not
After I got the conversation today, concerning that, I'm real, the conversation with, I spoke to a couple of, Lexington employees, and they get told for sure that they're gonna have, they have not been taken sick leave or anything like that, and they have not been told it's short term. So, I don't know.
Well, I don't think it's still in Lexington 150, but that, I think that question's gonna come up tonight, so I want to go to the first, should not, but I don't.
That's why I called, you know, they have not been told it's short term, and they certainly have to be told that they're not taking sick leave for sure they are going to call. That's why they say not, they probably also.
Well, I certainly don't want to commit a big successful October.
And again, I won't get into their business either, but, I did like when I heard about it. It was my understanding it wasn't just from our teachers reaching out to me to talk to like one teacher, but I actually talked to board members in like one. And their understanding they were going to try to use years money perhaps to provide all these other support. It is still in planning stages, that's confirmed. It was not volunteers, really. They understand. I get you. We don't want to get off their business, but I would like for us to at least follow up with them, if you don't mind, the ongoing thing, we still have, like, once a year, kind of 5 weeks, so not, we just follow up with them, just find out, you know, exactly what they're planning to do, and how they're gonna make it possible, just to maybe wait another, just let me follow that one up, appreciate that. We really do get our teachers the same type of benefits that are being held in our sister district.
What I will tell you, Brian, is there's no big care back that we take. Like all the care back money. Every school district has their plan, and that is going to form more one the other. And I will be glad to follow up with, but I want to tell you that the superintendent said they were planning to reach out to the church basically volunteers. I'll have to talk about it. I had seen that email, I heard that, of course, that's not actually my call. But it doesn't say we are the only that anybody that has heard of, including sexual, offering full-time year-long state. I'll be glad to have you back on. they let, no one at this point in time has applied and placed on the scale, so it's speculating any idea that they have as to what it might cost. And gaming and both girls for a quarter, they've all been 100% committed to making this as feasible for our employees and still other employees. So I'm hoping that this is going to be something that transcends this year, and will just get better and better, for still others.
I want to ask, we'll pose some questions, if I can answer something. And, not putting one on the spot, but I witnessed it next week when this girls club working so hard to keep out, and I was not impressed at all. We're under different strikes this go around, and, it's even more important that, we have qualified people in there that can help and monitor these kids and their academics, and not just, together and talk and run wild. So have you considered how you're going to address that?
Yeah, no, I would love to. So we are, doing, so I've been in this role for 2 years, and first thing that I was focused on was, one is quality and supervision, right? And so with that, our training procedures that we put in place, is everyone is, all CPR first aid certified. We have a entire in-person orientation that goes over what we just talked about specifically. We also have about 14 hours of online mandatory classes starting in North America classes through DSS and Pro Solutions program that works on classroom management and things of that nature as well. But also the Sanford Inspire, which talks about consequences and social emotional life. But also after that, we look at for additional professional development. We partnered with Middle Technical College to create a program called Beat University that is a program that not only give our staff the skill sets that they need to be to improve, continue to get better, but also raise their hourly wage and provide them a large portfolio while they're learning and growing. So we've addressed this like that. Yes, ma'am. It's 2 sides of the business model.
We say this to talk about the effectivity of this program. I think it's probably, I don't know, something but down back into similar policy around here, they indicated that they were looking to build their own facility. And right now, I think it's planning to try to open that next 2 years. So that's why we're still trying to boost this facility. And to me, the opportunity that we have, we do partnership with builders right now, so that they can use our facility. I'm hoping that you will return that favor whenever they open their facility and they can go out and hire employees to be part of that program. So we talked about it, and I'm hoping that they will do that. So for sustainability, I don't know if you're going to do any better than partnership that we might create.
I just want to tell you, it's a great opportunity, that we go there and out here. I just wanted to add that, we will have things that will also be going to school and finally, just to ask that feedback from that, how it is, right, thing, and we talk about that just being that short term care, so there's children, there's problems like that, and doing things and knowing that, some people are doing it full time, and there's benefits, but it's that, for people that are staying.
instructions for our student board, fill up the board. And basically what we're talking about today is we're going to leave this window of opportunity open for 10 days. The application for the line was, so 10 days, our employees, their employees, and that first option is to the first. After that, it opens up to the essential work, work, attending program that they can all know is doing. So again, first come, first served type thing. Our employees, some employees, that first can't do. We talked today that, we're planning for 125. We're using, but that facility, that's what we think, we need to use this facility, we didn't have the structure. But right now, that's kind of the target that we're shooting for. We think we'll have, we're looking at probably, based on surveys that we sent out, a little less than 100, business employees, and our employees, and the others still. How many were in the standard program? We have 100. And the total program will have 100. So we have 100 specific. About one from the rest of the city and still hosting. So, pretty much. But that's a problem for us. That's what we call it. Utilization is all. That's what we're doing. There are cases talk about mowing grass, keeping it, all those things that with the one child there from. Well, and that's the reason I'm asking questions, because I wonder if the second work was going already. We have about 122 meetings, that's 200, but the only plan is for 125. We have more applicants than they're going to go up. Say we got through, this is getting the right staff. Build the plan. For extra, yeah. Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the use of the facility. Favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried. Next up on our agenda is consideration of a resolution that's recommended by Lexington County Council. Thank y'all for coming. Consideration of resolution recommended by Lexington County Council.
Yes, Mr. King, there is a letter that's addressed to all the located in Lexington County from, Councilwoman Summer. Basically, the county council is asking the school district adopt a resolution. There's a sample in here that would, be a community thank you to Family Zero, those individuals from education, healthcare, first responders, those folks to say that they're appreciated for their work during this time. But, we would recommend it for approval.
I'll make a motion to accept, Andrew's recommendation to approve a resolution for Lexington 2 along the lines of, what the Lexington County Council did and consider.
We will motion, I'll second. That's second motion. Please second. The only question I would have is, I assume the motion includes when they prepare the document. You don't have to,
And I think we'd like for the chairman to execute it, after providing a copy also.
okay. All right, we have a motion and second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Alright, next on the agenda is consideration of first and second reading of review of board policy JH and
Yes, sir. You got a copy in your packet. We adopted a difference in our attendance and absence policy, whereby we start our 2 days. What we brought back to you is make sure that all policies read it the same way. You look at the red lines in there that read, we're in 3 school days of the student return. We had what we approved that change in policy. Yeah. We have to vote for it.
I make a motion to entertain first and second reading of the revisions to policy JH, student absence and excuses to provide that the school, excuses and parents to return within 3 days.
second by Mr. Any discussion?
I just want to make sure, and I think it's really good to again for all what happened, that we got, I'm really got to make sure really promote this to our parents, to bring them back, to really like remind them, because I think they really have to be people now, 10, maybe 12 years, and may not live something different, which is, you know, remind them that it's, all for that. Thank you.
Ma'am,
It used to be that way.
that's not a long time ago. Right.
Put it in the file.
We're trying to do all we can to make sure that we put interventions in place before child gets in trouble. That's the motivation.
Okay, if there are no other questions, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next up is consideration of approval of first and second reading of the following temporary board policies. Administrative Rule IAHR, Exhibit IAHE, State Policy KIR, Exhibit KIE, Policy EBC, Administrative Rule EBC R1, and EBC R2.
Yes, sir, Mr. Bingham. We would ask that the board approve the temporary changes in policy. As you know, we get updates from the South Carolina School Board Association. All of these are related to the issues that are surrounded by COVID. All of these are temporary board policies based on the situation that we find ourselves in now. They deal with visitors, how we deal with that, physical distancing, putting notices of opting out of on-site instruction, and overall emergency within the district. So we would ask the board to give us approval on first and second reading of all of these policies.
All those in favor?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the board approve the administration recommendations for first and second reading of the policies, administrative rules, and exhibits as proposed.
There we have a motion and a second. I'll second. Second by Mr. T. Any discussion?
Just briefly, just because I think I heard there was some concern about the one on visitors to school facilities. Just to point out to anyone who might be concerned that this restriction, as I understand it, doesn't apply to authorized visitors and authorized volunteers. I think there was some concern out there, we're going to have any visitors or any volunteers, but as long as you're authorized to be in the building, then you're good to go.
And part of it is to make certain that they're wearing masks that go to the office and not just out into the building.
Any other questions? All right, being none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Next up, so before we get to that, let me take a moment to recognize, I should have done that probably at the beginning, but I wanted to welcome Dr. Wade, who this is his first meeting in Lexington too, our superintendent-elect. So welcome, and not to say anything, you're welcome to say a few words.
Wow, I'm putting you on the spot right there. 4 days already here. I'm already alive. I'm very much enjoying this meeting even tonight. I very much look forward to the rest of the school year. So, again, thank you very much.
So with that, let's move to the back to school update.
All right, Mr. Baker, we got, two pieces of this, Jim has preliminary enrollment numbers. Please make sure that, you know, that this is preliminary, you know, we're still trying to clean this up. And then as this will go to this prepared, an overview, protocol update that will explain the hybrid situation that we're going into, how we're assigning teachers, how we're assigning classes, and those numbers. So,
Does Dave need to put this on your computer so that
Dave, can you put that, the access to this computer, please?
so at least the folks who are watching online will see it. Mr. Kent?
Yes. It's pretty typical. If you look at the columns back in March, you based the budget on projected enrollment. As long as the schools send me information about their current enrollment, any given day, even as we're going to register, they include them in the account. There's been a number of virtual applications that the next column, further that from the officer around just to let you know how many less kids would be on campus attending school versus the virtual one. Kindergarten is going to be low this year, okay? I mean, low this time of year. But by the time we start school, they will come in. So this has already changed. There'll be more kids now. A lot of the enrollment is coming through student services, and I can tell you, we're doing between 50 and 80 a day. We'll start getting kids that are withdrawing, going to other schools, going out of state, things like that. Well, anything, any question you may have about any schools.
Jim, over on Wood Elementary.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at August 3rd in enrollment at 811 and 906. But the number of virtual plus the difference don't add up. The number of virtual plus the what's different, that's is less than 800. That's right. We're looking
Don't use the 800, 811 because that only includes child development because they don't have a virtual watch.
So, it's,
Yeah.
You know,
number of virtual plus the difference don't add up to 811.
oh yeah, the self-contained kids.
So it should be up above that, the subtotal.
so, 756.
Yeah.
Okay,
I was just doing grades K through 5.
okay.
legitimate.
Anybody else, anything?
Taking a look at these numbers, how many virtual teachers do we need?
Well, we're gonna go through this, because we pulled out the numbers for each class, broken it down in this presentation. We're about to show you for every grade of numbers, that's fine. In short, I'll tell you, right now, we've got about 32% of our kids that have asked for, virtual school. And, when I talked to you all at the last meeting, we were talking about 25% as being our number that we felt like we could do. So that basically where we are, and Dr. Brooke will go through this, but we're to the point now where we're about a third at school on any given day and a third in virtual, for completely virtual, and then a third at the home. So that's given us a really good opportunity to spread kids out a little more. So, that's, honestly, we feel kind of good about the number that we've had after that. And Angela and this have worked so forward about assigning FTE. I don't want to say assigning teachers, but they haven't put Miss Kessler to a third grade. So they're looking at numbers.
What grade do you have right now?
I believe you could do third grade. That's when you got the extra reading right. I believe you can do that. Dixon's got an update that will give you all the information about our starting faculty. There's one question that I'll give you a handout. My broker asked me about, I think Court's been getting asked a bunch about math. We're going to bring you a model policy from the School Board Association at the 20th meeting, but I've given you a copy of what we've received from the State Board of Education and the State Plan. You can read that, and that's pretty much what we'll follow, and in reality, that's pretty much what School Board Association recommended policy is about math. But Dixon has put together an idea about what the hybrid plan will look like, what our numbers are, what the classes are, and how they'll be assigned. So with that said, Dr. Brooks.
Mr. Bigham, members of the board, Dr. James, it's a pleasure tonight to have the opportunity to talk about instruction and what we have been doing really since March. We have been living this world of COVID for a long, long time and made lots of adjustments. One of my team members told me that you got to embrace the chaos, because it's very easy to get frustrated if you don't remain flexible. So I wanted to start off tonight.
Is David got this one?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. Should be.
I'm just looking on that screen back there, and it just shows the view of the board. It's not sure.
I will see that apparently all of them are this. And I actually had it pulled up the little ones, so that little green, I followed on it. So we had our little stuff. I guess it's on the website, right?
Dave,
Yes,
do we have that?
yes, sir.
So the first thing is we want to make sure our families, our teachers, our students understand that e-learning, which we did starting in March, is not what we're talking about. I'm sure no learning. And e-learning was designed to be short-term use for weather. A lot of it workload basically equivalent to a half a day. We moved more into this remote learning, we have really tried to make sure our teachers are prepared to be able to do that, but it's more designed for weekly instruction, and it's more structured for students to work independently on targeted different supports and for teachers to really work with those students when they come into the building. So that is one of the differences. Going back into, with e-learning, as y'all all know, we were fortunate to be an e-learning pilot district, and that really gave us a leg up when it came to March, because we did have 5 lessons, 10 really, at that time to roll out to our families. We didn't realize it was going to go longer than that, and obviously the e-learning wasn't meant to do that. But we recognized pretty quickly that our kids, especially K2, where we sent packets home and not devices, that they were going to have some gaps in their learning that we were going to really try and figure out how to address going into the school year, before we realized what the school year was even going to look like. And so beginning in May, Dr. Bingham, Ms. Storr, Ms. Wise, Ms. Pageant, Ms. Brooks, all began working with teachers across the district and instructional coaches to refine our central learning standards in English. And we did that from K4 all the way through English 2 and math K4 all the way through Algebra 1. And what that simply means is, if you ever talk to a teacher and talk about, it's hard to get through all of the standards that are required in a year. And so when you know that kids are coming in with some gaps because of fourth quarter, essentially, and you know you're going to have to do even more filling in the gaps than we normally do, you really got to be strategic about how to do that. And so we try to look at the standards and really pick those, home in on really making sure that our kids, the majority of our kids, on these essential ones, the ones we deem are necessary for kids to have success at that next course, if they're high school and getting ready to graduate, if they have the skills to go to college or to career and be successful. Those are really the essential learning standards that we're going to really try to make sure that we have consistency on and that we're guaranteeing our kids moving forward. In June and July, our elementary and middle school teachers and instructional coaches have worked to align our new textbooks and math to our math curriculum. So we have new math books being rolled out through 8th grade this year. And so that's an exciting thing, but it also has required some time for our teachers and coaches to make sure that we know how, once the school year starts, to implement those new textbooks. During July and August, our high school math teachers have created a total new course, that's math prep. We've revamped our course sequences, resources, and assessments for the foundations in algebra class, intermediate algebra, and the algebra 1. That is in direct relation to our EOC scores in algebra 1 that we really need to address. And then our high school English teachers, actually had met with them as well as some adult education teachers and librarians to have a conversation and explore what does visual instruction really look like for high school or secondary students when it comes to reading and writing. And that looks different. A lot of times when we're thinking about kids reading and writing, we think of earlier kids, but our kids that are getting ready to go to college, it certainly looks different. So we wanted to make sure they weren't as prepared as they could be once school year starts. During August, currently we have teachers and instructional coaches working with the instruction department to align the courses in the syllabus, which is one of our new programs that we purchased to help us. But we want to make sure that it aligns with our standards and curriculum. And then we're going to start rolling out the training for our teachers prior to the start of school, so that they have that resource and know how to use that resource. Because as everybody that so far that has gotten in it has found out, including myself, there's a sense of relief that I have and others have when you get in and see resources and what is available and sell us. I think will really help us. And that is a program K through 12. We're also preparing to begin holding virtual meetings with our teachers to try and explain the hybrid framework that we're thinking, and then also to address other concerns and questions that we have. In other words, trying to make sure with all of the things that are out there and anxiety and stress and really make sure they understand what the game plan is. And then we're also an e-learning mentor district. Not sure if y'all are aware of that at this point, but we've also been providing some professional development and resources to 4 other districts. And so that's Allendale, Arnold, 19, Arnold, 29, and Hampton 2, 4 districts that we are mentoring when it comes to e-learning. In July, another thing that we did was to bring back Brady Lane. He is a national training and solutions trade. He came last summer and worked with us. He was a big hit with our teachers and our administrators. And so we asked Brady to come back to help us. And he did. Our goal of those 2 days was to review our professional learning community framework to allow schools time to reflect on where they are, becoming a true professional learning community, and then to learn new tools and strategies that they could use immediately to help them get better. Our focus was on monitoring student learning and how to intervene when kids struggle, and then how to push those that aren't. As I talked about earlier, going back to March and April and May, we realized that we really needed to make sure we knew how to focus on student learning. And then this training was held virtually. It was coming to us from the West Coast, and our school teams, however, met face-to-face at their schools so that they could look each other in the face when they were having these conversations. And school teams were able to plan for their next steps going into this year. One of the unintentional benefits of this was the training served as a great model for our teachers that were in attendance, as well as our administrators and our instructional staff, on what this virtual teaching could look like. Because he's used a lot of tools that we have since taught our teachers how to use it. It was really engaging for our staff, and so it really did serve as a good model for what it could look like for us. Every school did have representation. So we started having this conversation in instruction several months ago. So how do we make this new virtual experience work for our students? And that is a big question. And as y'all have gotten lots of questions about, everybody thinks education, and you think that anytime a teacher is in a classroom with students, they need to be talking to the students. And it doesn't always have to look that way. And, but that's more the traditional thing that we're all more used to. And so one of the things that we found and believe will make a difference for us is a blended learning. And rather than me talking about it, I have a video that I'm a short video that I want you to watch that will hopefully help explain and give you a new idea of exactly what we're talking about.
Eastern High School is located in the Capitol Hill neighborhood of Washington, D.C. Being 100% free and reduced lunch, our students come to us with varied levels of academic performance.
When I came to Eastern, I was sort of shocked with how broad the variety of learning levels. We have students who've experienced some trauma, who are behind on certain skill sets, are ahead in certain skill sets, have different subsets of experience when they go home. I quickly found out that my traditional model of teaching was not actually effective. So at that time, I realized I needed to make a shift. And I wanted to start by getting rid of the lecture at the beginning of my class. Again, started through the revision. So Santana and Shane, you just see me in the back real quick. The instructional model that I started implementing, there are 3 components: blended learning, self-paced structure, and mastery-based grading. What you would see today is really a controlled chaos environment. You have some students starting a new lesson, watching an instructional video, taking their guided notes. You have other kids working on actual lesson assignments, collaborating on whiteboards, really problem solving. And then you'll see other students working on exit tickets to achieve mastery.
I like what's the first class because it teaches you independence. For every lesson, we start off with a video, and then during the video, we have to take notes.
In today's lesson, we're going to focus on finding our local max and min.
Another actually, you get to pause it, stop, and then go back and be able to rewatch the lesson over again until I fully understand and grasp the strategies and formulas.
Once they're done watching that instructional video, they transition to some type of an assignment or activity.
That's it for everyone. And then we already found the derivative. And now they find the rate of change of the weight of the oil.
Everyone learns different. So you may be on lesson 5, someone may be on 3. It all depends on how you work. It's better than in a regular class where everybody has to stay on the same thing. The students help each other. So if you ahead, you might can help someone that's behind. After that, there's an exit ticket.
So an exit ticket is like a mini quiz. It's just a couple questions at the end of the lesson that really succinctly measure the student's ability to execute the activities they learn. So when a student has mastered an exit ticket, they move forward. When they don't, they have a reteach. You're assuming that your why is 0. Get, and then they try a new exit ticket until they've achieved mastery. Showtime. Did you get your exit ticket right? Well, your derivative is spot on. So because I am not delivering a lecture, I'm now free to work with students for the entirety of the class period.
4.
Yes. Woo.
In a traditional format, once the teacher delivers that lesson, they're moving on to the next lesson the next day. And they don't get an opportunity to go back over it.
I've had students who, sadly, in a traditional classroom, they simply would have failed the quarter due to their number of absences for legitimate reasons and often sometimes really heartbreaking reasons. With this way of teaching, that student can come really with more of a fighting chance and ultimately pass a quarter.
In our model, if a student is experiencing distress and needs emotional support, it doesn't disrupt the larger classroom environment. I'm able to pivot and work with that student, discuss what's going on, while the other students are able to access the content and flourish.
You have to do 10, then put parentheses in the calculator too. I did. Oh, you got it. It's supposed to be a positive, girl.
Oh, come on. No. Pin. Pin. Can't unmute somebody else. Yes, I can.
Credit for PD and then schedule sign up for our staff members to actually be able to sign up for those sessions. There were over 117 sessions that were offered over the 4 weeks in July, and over 741 teachers, administrators, and other staff members participated. So all of our administrators participated. We even had other non-teaching staff that asked if they could participate. And we said, yeah, you absolutely can. And so we were excited that they were hearing good things and wanted to do that. So over 6,000 sessions were completed district-wide during the month of July. We also had teacher facilitators, and I have listed those names there for you so that you can see them, because these teachers also develop lessons and sessions for our teachers and did multiple lessons each or sessions, and some of them even had requests for repeats, and they added some others in. So we were very excited to have some teachers that do well in technology also providing that. And then for my staff, I would not feel good if I did not recognize some of them. Dr. Janet Dedman and Dr. Bridget Wolf, they really were the two behind all the instructional piece of this, and I can't tell you how much they worked in the month of July and the end of June to really put these together without a whole lot of time to put them together. But Janet, for example, did 61.5 hours of teaching. She did 41 sessions. And they had 3 sessions a day sometimes, the last one being from 6 to 7:30 p.m. She did 45 hours in attendance verification, so our teachers could get paid for those days and their time, as well as teacher support. So teachers would also reach out and ask questions, and she would provide that. And then Dr. Wolf also did similar things. She was at 28.5 hours, 19 sessions, and 30 hours of attendance. And then you see under the bottom where they both helped each other monitor the chat board feature when they were presenting, because we had 5 sessions that were required for all staff members. There were 250 folks in those sessions. So if y'all remember when we first started this virtual one, there was just us on these Zoom meetings and Google Meet. Imagine 250 of them. So that really was a lot to monitor, and they did an outstanding job. 2 other people that I want to recognize is Jennifer Wise. She is the one that heads up our learning plan account. She's the one that set up a lot of those. And then the last bullet on hers is the one that she doesn't get enough appreciation for, 60 hours of tech support and frequently asked questions. And what that really means is those teachers that waited toward the end to sign up, they needed to get in a session, or they wanted to get in a session, wanted to get on the waiting list. When with all of these questions back and forth, she dealt with it very well, a whole lot better than I ever would have. And then Claudia Boyd is one of our unsung heroes, and she is the one that has entered all of this attendance after it's been checked by these folks in the 11 sessions. So I really am so very proud of not just these 4 individuals, but also the teachers that work on this as well, because I can tell you this has been one of the most positive and comprehensive meetings that we've ever done in Lexington, at least for the time that I have been involved. I also wanted to show, yes.
Actually, we tell you when we don't hear good things, we gotta tell you when we do hear good things. And I mean, well, I said, and I know I can tell about the bunch of them, because I heard her name over and over and over. And it's that she's, I mean, they're all good. I guess she was so new that people use her name more. This is, she's phenomenal.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that. And she's gotten a reputation for having lots of patience because she's, and especially in those 250, if you got one person that doesn't know how to mute their screen, they can cause a big issue. And we have some of that. But also wanted just to share a few examples of the things that our teachers have learned to help our virtual instruction be more engaging for our kids. And so on the screen now is a Jamboard up on the upper right-hand corner, and then Screencastify and Puzzle. Screencastify, you'll notice on both of those pictures that the teacher faces on there. Screencastify is the program that we're going to use to record lessons. And so Jamboard on the upper right basically is a whiteboard that teachers can write on, and so that they can create these lessons and record them. And down at the bottom is a program called Edpuzzle. And what Edpuzzle does is it takes a video and allows the teacher to pause the video to insert questions and also to insert comments, which makes it a lot more engaging versus where you just watch a whole video and then ask his questions. The next one is PairNet, which is very similar. This is where you can take a PowerPoint or slide presentation, and this allows kids to write on it. So the example in the upper right-hand corner, that math problem, they would be able to write on that and then submit that back to the teacher. You can see the note on the bottom one. In this example, it is set up to get multiple choice questions entered into it. The next thing that we have purchased for use with our K2 students is Seesaw, and that is going to serve as our LMS. And all that means is that is our management system that we're going to use to help organize the instruction for those students. In grades 3 through 12, we will continue to use Google Classroom. But you can see in this example that it's a little bit simpler platform, so it lays out a little bit easier for our younger kids as well as our parents to be able to access both their videos and the instructional activities that they will do. Mastery Manager is a program that we've had in the district for a long time, which allows us to do online assessments. You can see that we get reports down at the bottom to help us analyze those results to really figure out if we have bad questions or if we've got kids that are not doing well, or to also help us figure out why kids chose answer B rather than C. And then you can see some examples of questions. We've used this over the years to help use our devices online and try to create tests that were more like our state assessments. So when we got to the state assessments, they were more prepared to take them. We hope it didn't work for us. One of the most fun classes has been the Bitmoji Classroom. And so another thing that we did with these sessions is I wanted to make sure that there was some accountability to these sessions. In other words, I didn't want somebody to start their computer and not pay attention. We wanted to really make sure that teachers were able to then use these tools. And so they had to provide examples of using the tools. So this is a teacher-built classroom. And the way this works is that playlist that we were talking about, over on the left-hand side behind the teacher Bitmoji, you can see different areas. And so this student would simply just work down those buttons. When they click on the button, it would take them to an assignment. They would come back to this classroom and move to the next assignment. So that is the way that works. And then these are just some other samples that we pulled. So you can see all of the various ways that teachers came up with already to be able to provide playlists or ways that kids could get their work published throughout the week. I passed out before the meeting started tonight 3 different frameworks, and these are all in draft form with what I shared with you. And I'm not going to go through these with you tonight, but I just wanted you to see these. We have been meeting, actually the high school group met this afternoon at 2:30 to finalize theirs this afternoon. We pulled teachers in with us to have conversations about how does this look? How do you think you can make this work in your classroom? Because it's easy for me to sit and tell you what I think can happen, but I felt like it was important to have the practitioners, if you will, actually meet and say, this is how I think this can work and what I'm committed to make happen. And so I've only copied the top of the page so that you can see sort of what the rotation is. There's been some questions about this, I know, out in the community. But on Monday, the teacher would work from their classroom. They would have group A in person with them, and group B would be in remote learning. And those students would come back to face-to-face on Thursday. On Tuesday, the teacher again works in the classroom. They have group B in person, and group A would be remote learning. On Wednesday, students are working, all of them are remotely, and our teachers are working from their classrooms again. And you can see that there's different activities that could happen on Wednesday. But using Google Meet, our teachers can work in small groups. They also can work individually. And then also, we want our teachers to have some time to collaborate with one another, because as they're trying to pull videos, create videos, and all of that, it's much easier to share videos than it is for everybody. If Don and I are teaching the same class, it would be smarter for me to record some of those videos and Don to record some, and we use each other's versus us recording the same thing. So we're trying to encourage our teachers to work smarter. Underneath there, you can see that Instructional videos and academic activities will be made available to both groups 5 days a week. So they will get assignments every day. Teachers are not expected to provide in-person and synchronous learning at the same time. That means live. Students who are learning remotely will be working independently, and a daily scheduled time for questions to be answered by the teacher will be provided. That is something that we're trying to work on to be consistent, because we know that is important. And we also know, I have talked to several parents where they talked about last spring, they would work all day, they would come home and have to help instruct their kids. We're trying to be very sensitive to that. Our kids have to learn, and we're trying to make sure that it's independent, and we're providing ways to help them so that our parents don't have to provide that instruction. That does not mean that we don't want parents involved. We do. And we also know that they're going to have to ask their kids if they've done their work. And we're going to have to provide parents a way to be able to monitor whether they have or not. And Seesaw is part of it. I also can tell you that in all of our elementary schools this year, we're going to use Class Dojo. Most of you have already heard about Class Dojo in elementary schools. We've also purchased Remind that we'll be using in middle and high schools this year. That's important. And yeah.
So, starting at elementary. So I know that a lot of times, like, we're trying to keep them in the same classroom as what we've heard before, right? Like, kids can stay in the classroom, especially if they're, lunch goes to them. But a lot of those time periods were actually when those elementary teachers were doing like their little, different meetings that they have or planning. So if they're like basically in a pod, are they going to have breakouts and things to go through their plans with their other teammates?
Yeah, and they already do that. So they'll leave their room, and if our teacher is going into their classroom, for example, to teach, then they will leave that classroom and go and leave that normally.
Yeah. So they're going to have some planning time.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And then in the box on the left, you can see that more direction on attendance is coming. State Department provided us some guidelines on Tuesday, and we'll be bringing you a temporary policy probably in on the 20th to work on that with us. Accelis is this new program that I mentioned earlier that we'll be using K-12, and it will be available to all students and all teachers. To me, that was very important because I can't tell you that we're not all going to be virtual at one time. I hope not, but we possibly could. And so it was important to me that we had consistency across all of our schools. And so we have purchased Accelis for all of our teachers to have access into these. 76 teachers, administrators, and instructional staff members are currently working on verifying the standards and course alignments with what we've been doing. There are 397 published K-5 through 12 courses, does include AP courses, it's offerings, and then it has lots of questions to help us figure out whether kids are learning or not. It also provides video and audio files to support each lesson, so teachers can pull in videos to use. They don't have to, but that's certainly another option if they choose to. This live monitor, I've already talked a little bit, but teachers can click and see the progress to see exactly which kids are struggling and which ones need immediate support. That is also very important to me. Parents, I think, will enjoy the last line, students won't, and that is that parents will have logins into Accelis where they can monitor the progress of their own child and see whether they are completing those assignments or not. We're also looking at teacher college units of study. This is another resource that we're exploring for our elementary teachers. They're pre-recorded mini lessons of the educators from the teachers college, the highly regarded degree. This is to support our Lucy Hawkins units of instructions in our elementary classrooms. And now the moment you've all been waiting for. This is the breakdown of our schools by grade level, and I realize it's hard to see all there. But starting at the top, with the high schools, airport, you can see that there are 396 students that have chosen virtual academy program, 378 at
PC, and then Newbridge students are 8. So you can see by grade level, beginning in middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and then in the elementary schools, how that shakes out by grade level as well. And you can see that we had 2,795 students that applied for that program. So we have worked to come up with our preliminary recommended staffing for our virtual program, keeping in mind that we want to have these classes larger so that our in-person classes can be smaller, so that we can social distance and do everything we can to keep everybody as safe as we can. So in elementary school, you see that we had 1,236 students that wanted to do virtual. So using 45 teachers from our elementary schools, that gives us a ratio per class of 27 to 5. The number from the State Department that we can have is 30 in a class. I'm sorry, 27.5 to 1 in the classroom. I apologize. And then in middle school, there were 777 students. It will take us 24 core content teachers, and that will give us a class average of 32.4. High schools, as we have talked before, is a little bit different beast, if you will, to try and break out. And so what I've done is look at the content areas of English, math, science, and social studies, rather than looking at breaking out by course or grade level. I've simply combined all of the English for you. So we have 369 requests for an English class. It could be English 1, it could be AP Lang, for example. I believe that we can use 4 core content teachers to do that. That would give us a ratio per teacher of 92.3. They can have up to 150 students a day. In math, you see that number is 414. I believe we can do that for 4 teachers. That would give them an average of 103.5. Science, there's not as many course requests, so we're 10. So you see that we can do that, I believe, for 3 teachers, which will take us to 103.3 average per teacher. And then social studies, 361, 4 teachers, and then 9.3. So the plan with high schools would be just to split those 2 from airport, 2 from BC, for example, and then science. We'll try and identify where the larger group comes from. I also want to point out why we're looking at this screen. I told you in elementary 30 is the class size that we can go with. Middle school is 35, 150 high school. So you can see in elementary school, we have a little bit of room, but we don't have a lot of room in our virtual program. Middle school, we have a little bit of room, but we don't have a lot of room. And then high school is a little misleading because if you look at English, for example, it's 92.3, but typically our high school teachers have 3 subjects or 3 classes that they teach a day. They will have 4 more than likely. So they'll have more preps than normal. So even though it's not close to 150, that sort of makes up that difference. So that's sort of how that works. So we do have a little bit more room for kids to move in. So because I'm talking about that, this is how we have chosen to move forward. As you know, y'all set the deadline for applications as August the 1st. We had that 2,795 apply by the end of the day on August the 1st. So that is the numbers that we're using to come up with the staffing. We have had some parents after the 1st that have requested to put their child in the Virtual Academy program. So what they're being told is to email the Virtual Academy at lex2.org and let them know child's name, what grade. And so they are going into a grade specific waiting list. We've also had parents that say they want to move their child back to the school in our hybrid plan. And so we're also telling them to please email that same email address. And they also are going into a grade specific waiting list. If we're able to evenly swap out, say a third grade wants to go in and third grade wants to come out, then we are making that swap. As we get closer to school starting, if we have some students who do not show up and there's room, then we absolutely will pull some kids in off of our waiting list. But I want people to understand that because we're staffing these schools with we're pulling our teachers out of buildings, we don't have a lot of flexibility either way. I just think it's important that everyone recognizes that we are absolutely doing everything we can to be as flexible and to meet everybody's requests, however. But sometimes we just aren't able to do that at this time.
Before you leave,
Yes.
virtual, where would teachers be?
Glad you asked that. We are planning at this point, we've already said they were going to be in the classroom. And we've also talked about how important it is that they collaborate with one another. And so our plan at this point is to put all of our elementary teachers, for example, at one school, one location. Our middle school at another location, and our high school at another location. So our virtual teachers will be together so that they can work together and so they have the resources that they need. And we're still identifying where those facilities might be with their house. That's the game plan.
But we won't have any instruction on teachers. It won't be like this one. Everybody will be at a building.
So we had an opportunity to experiment a little bit with art. That's our academic reading camp that we did in July, that's right. And Camp Gigi, which I think all of you are familiar with Camp Gigi. And so there were some unintended consequences that we learned throughout this whole entire process. But these two camps served as a pilot, if you will, to let us test the synchronous learning, that live streaming back and forth. And we did do some of that because this is a lot of it was individual or very small group, because there were not large number of kids that were involved in this. And there were lots of positive feedback from both our teachers as well as our parents. And the really cool part of that is we had parents that participated, especially with their special needs student or child, and they learned some techniques and strategies to help their kids at home. And so that really was something that was cool. And then breaking down walls, one of the things that we have learned throughout our time since March is we now feel very comfortable turning on our computer and having virtual conversations. Maybe a little bit too comfortable. But we've even got to where if we're here in the same building, a lot of times we'll meet virtually just so that we can all be in our own workstation, if you will. Teachers have spent a lot of time working with each other as we work with essential learning and all these other things, and they have realized, and they have voiced over and over in different settings, that they want to reach out more and use their peers at other schools. So what has been really cool is, we used to spend a lot of time talking about getting teachers to leave their four walls and to work with their partners, same people teaching the same courses they were. Now we have teachers that are breaking down the walls of the school. So they're reaching out across the district. And I think that will make us better and better as we move forward. And so the last thing that I want to leave you with is, as I said earlier, this has been one of the most positive things, at least that we've gotten feedback from. I can't honestly remember getting one negative. Hope nobody sends me anything negative tomorrow, but it really has been overwhelmingly positive. And I wanted to leave you with a few of the comments that we have received over that time. And so with that, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer. Yes, ma'am.
The kindergarten through second graders, I know before we were doing the other things, when we didn't use the packets. Are we gonna, but we have the devices, right? And
We're going to send iPads home with them.
Do we have like a way if teachers, like if they have questions, like, it's like, yeah, some of them are like saying like, I know y'all are doing so much planning, y'all have such great plans, and there's no doubt everybody knows we've got like stuff on, but they still, like day-to-day things. Should they be taking this to their building administrator? Should we have like a central just email person that just, answers those? Like, I don't know, I'll give out your email. But you know what I'm saying? Are we gonna have like just set up on those district websites, just set out teachers saying through the common theme questions that, I think we all have been getting a lot of emails, and I think we can probably compile for you, not asking tonight. We can compile for you just kind of a list of, okay, this is a lot of the questions we get, and then they know the answers, but somehow you can push that out.
Dawn has been answering frequently asked questions. We want to give this to the board before we get anybody else. We're meeting with principals Tuesday, give this to the principals, but I didn't want it to go out without the board having seen it first. So now that you all seen it, unless you just say, scrap it, start over, we're going to give the principals on Tuesday, and then it'll start to go out. But if you have questions, you can get it. You'll forward those to Dawn, we'll put those together and answer and send it out with their frequently asked questions.
Yeah, and I can tell you what has happened with the sessions and stuff. A day didn't go by that Janet or Bridget or somebody would text me during the day and ask me a question that somebody was asking. We've had lots of teachers, different teachers, in all of these learning conversations, so alignments. So we've tried to pull in different people, and as we've done that, I've always allowed them time to ask questions. Because we don't invite everybody to participate in those. Some people get their feelings hurt, and I have to address that too and say, we're trying to spread it out, but we try and get information out that way. And we do intend to start meeting with teachers virtually, as I mentioned earlier, so that we could start sharing more wholesale, one message, if you will, about how things are going to look.
That's not half the comments
Okay.
that I got.
We just
this was great. They told me it's the best thing, and they were just basically like, let us get going. They really appreciated all the detail. I guess y'all told them a lot about virtual stuff, but they said it was really good. So please let the people know that.
I mean, I can honestly tell you, I had a parent ask me, she said, I'm going to ask you this question, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. But I want to know how you really feel about how your teachers are prepared for that. So I said, I'm not answering that at all. Because I can tell you, I meet with other chief instructional officers from our Lexington area. And all of us are talking about providing teachers PD. There's not any district around us that has done this kind of PD, as much PD. And the fact that y'all paid them for the 3 days that they were doing goes over and above any of that. And so they are the most prepared that they can be. Now, will we still have some problems? We will. But I can sit here and sleep well at night knowing that we have literally done everything we can to make sure our teachers are as prepared as they can to instruct our students.
And there's been a lot of inclusion. I mean, you get 700 people that come forward and those in this is an outstanding job for it all together. Yeah, and I think there's
all teachers.
Well, part of that was administrators, part we got just over 600 professionals. So that's administrators, that's folks that aren't professionals, that were allied, what we want to be part of. So there's a lot of people that have been involved in this process. That's what September the 8th will look like.
Thank you for the time that you take to come and work as well. I appreciate the support of our teachers.
Great job.
administrators.
Let me ask one question. With regard to the, I can't remember the name of the program that sell us, or the parents are gonna log into.
Yes.
Are we gonna have like a primer session for the parents to log in either virtually or whatever it is, so they understand how they're gonna do all that? So it's instruction.
Right, and what we have been doing is we have resources now on our website where advanced can actually record videos where parents will be able to access that and see exactly how we do that. And we've also talked about with our virtual kids, the Burgraft wants to do some parent meetings virtually to try and help them because they'll be even more critical for them. So yeah, we'll be doing some of that.
But I mean, yeah, we need some way to check up that they are actually getting on, that they're able to log in. You know, I understand the link on the website, but sometimes they don't know to go to the website, or they, you know, are they doing what they're supposed to do?
Right. And
so that we can follow up with those parents and say, we notice you're not logging in, or you're not checking on your work.
Right.
Or your child.
You're absolutely right. And that's why we talked about, we did a better job in elementary schools this past year. Last we learned in March to the end of the year, really keeping our parents involved, and it was that Class Dojo app because it fits their cell phone, and so the communication back and forth was easier. We didn't really have a consistent way in middle and high school, which is why we moved to Remind. So the key will be getting parents to sign up or Remind on their phones, the app, so that we can get those communications. But you're absolutely right, that's why we moved.
So I assume you'll have, before school starts, there's going to be a week or two where parents can start to figure out how they're going to get on.
Yes.
So they hit the ground running when we start September 8th.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, we've even talked about, you know, I've been talking to teachers and administrators about our devices that got to be ready to go at the beginning. Anybody can pass now. Got to start using them for day one. We don't know when we're going to be out or what's.
So there'll be a day where parents are going to come pick them up, just like you did.
Our virtual kids will, yes. In K8, we will use our leap day, Tuesday and Wednesday is what we're planning to do, to give out those devices to kids. And then high school, we haven't scheduled it yet, but we'll do that also before school in small groups.
Anybody else?
Oh, yeah, a question. And great job, Dr. Lewis.
Thank you.
Dr. If we go back just for a second, the guidelines for the mask coverings, the mask, are you bringing that to us at the next meeting? Okay, but have a lot of questions about it, and we feel like this is kind of the guideline you're going to go by, because then we can answer the question.
Yes, ma'am, that's the reason I gave it to you. We've got a lot of people that emailed their phone number to the program, I'll talk about that this afternoon. And we had so many policies, I think that was wrong. I think I had to look for that policy, the packet. In actuality, don't have it for the next board meeting, but our policy is coming from the School Board Association, but it mirrors what the state superintendent said.
And I think the most question has been when they are in the room getting instruction, they can remove the mask.
Well,
the administrations.
If the ticket, one thing was going to be real sensitive is it talks about in that if the teacher or administrator gives them that approval. What I don't think we can do is just have wholesale sit in the classroom without mask, because I'm telling you, you're a medical professional, but it's the only thing that has shown any kind of effectiveness in slowing down this. So taking kids outside, little kids outside, like at recess, spreading them out, you know, where they're in fresh air, and you let them get out and take the mask off. I don't think there's any problem with that, but I think particularly with having them sit in the classroom while they're sitting there, most teachers are going to feel much more comfortable with having the child with a mask on, and I think most parents are. We do have one or two parents that are adamant if the child has a reason, like we find in that, then, you know, we'll work with that, but we want to do as much as we can to mitigate kids being sick or teachers getting sick. And
process are gonna be like, I just remember in elementary school, you get letters about, some child in your kid's classroom has lights. Are we gonna be doing that kind of thing, like if a child comes?
Well, a lot of that will be, the problem will be based on the numbers and percentages and that sort of thing. I talked to the yesterday, well aware, and one of the things they said yesterday is that we do not have to send out a letter, but we call and talk to parents to just let them know we can't. Should we have somebody that is infected, we can't give out name or location, kind of identifying information. But we want to do what we can to make certain that people understand what's going on. And we give them the opportunity to do what they feel is best for their child. So I hope we don't ever see it, but school districts are preparing for if you have certain percentages in classrooms or certain percentages in school. What will you do when you close that classroom, when you close that school? And State Department hasn't given any specific directive on that, but the numbers that have been passed around is about 20%, which is in line with what we do now for the flu and calling DHEC. So, if we would have an outbreak in school where you had 20% of the individuals go to that school, 20% in the classroom, then we would recommend it over the week. We did something different, maybe go work.
And so it goes, basically, you're like bring a later plan, kind of detailing that, like if the teacher gets sick.
Right, and what we do is, we would have to have substitute, because one of the things even the teacher is being quarantined, even if they aren't showing symptoms. Under the COVID Relief Act, we require them to work. So if you had somebody fixing an ankle or on different sides of the pants, they would come and say, well, what if you don't have any symptoms? Then they won't teach virtually. And I'm agreeing with Dixie, because I'm not looking for substitute ankles. They know they can't teach virtually. So my guideline to Dixie was no pill ankle. It's the right answer. But those are all legitimate issues that we're going to work with. It's moving on. We've never had that experience. And part of the mask, I think, is the fact that we do know that it helps. It's not great. I hate it. Everybody here hates it, but it's the only thing that has shown any kind of slowing down. So we'll make sure that teachers get kids out, spread them out, so they can take them off. But I can't even just recommend to you that we would have to sit in the classroom.
And that's, and the wording in this is what you just said.
Right.
The distance.
Right. And some of our friends,
certainly outside.
Yeah, I mean, you've been associated with this student for your entire life. We got classrooms like the Slip River, where you have 800 square foot classroom, and then you got the new school before, but it's like Casey Riverbank, there's classroom twice of it. So you get maybe 3 feet at one school, but you can have 8 others based on the size of the room. So there will be variables in that, and there'll be opportunities for kids not to wear a mask. I don't think anybody could get there 7 o'clock in the morning and wear it 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But I think it's got to have some structure and some common sense.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Will teachers, children be able to wear the face shields, kind of like Jim's wearing, the blue or the mask, or does it have to be a cloth?
Well, what's said there is that, is a face covering which they define as being a cloth mask. And what we have done is we have purchased face shields just like the one Jim's got on there that flip up. By the way, those are the product of the Lexington 2 graduate, 2 Lexington 2 graduates, and they're built in awful shop road. So we bought a good number of those for kids who have a problem with the mask, or teachers who have a problem with the mask. Marty's got enough that we can hand those out, and I think that will suffice.
James, in that policy we'll bring on the 20th, I think it mentions that those shields could be an option.
I mean, if you have a parent who objects to the clock, you know, right, face, but something like that is not, you know, like a classroom shield. Right. That's not touching you. I can't see them, if they have an objection to the clock, then that would be an option that the first time.
And Marty's got enough that every employee do if they actually want to have one of those. Certainly, we've got children that couldn't wear the cloth, if it, you know, it was an issue, we would offer that for them. And then, you know, if it's not a health issue or some issue that is, it's a just, I don't want to wear it, we argue on virtual options, so that might be a better choice.
Also, in the event, let's say you have 2 or 3 students that test positive, and then a parent says, well, I'm not comfortable with my kids going back to the class. Do they drop back into, they're in that class, but just, they don't come?
Well, if we had that situation, what we try to do is, right now, the way our numbers are, and we can send the board a copy of the presentation, but if you look at the overall numbers and divided it out, our in-house, if you're there on Monday or Tuesday, the class size would be somewhere between 8 and 12 kids. 12 is our largest. So if you had 3 in there, we would hit that 20% mark about, and we would start to figure out, all right, could we pull this whole class out and put them virtual until their quarantine time? That's how we would work with that whole class. If they're small enough, then 3 would be a significant number.
Just to remind you mentioned on the face shields, Ms. Smith, correct me if I'm wrong, that CDC is not using those as a substitute for a face covering, but in addition to a face covering. So we just need to make sure and Ms. Barfield, our head nurses, are working on this also, so we just need to make sure we stay in compliance with the CDC guidelines. So if they can't wear a face covering, this may be used. However, the face covering is the most, provides the most protection, more so than a face shield. I want to make sure that everyone's aware of that. The CDC is not stating that a shield is a substitute for a cloth face.
They have said it's quality, but you know, if they can't wear it, and we got a whole array of them. We got our gators like that, our regular face masks, but if we got kids who can't wear the mask, certainly we would be glad to wear a shield.
And the company just released this past week kids version of this.
Yeah, those that go small enough that you can have small children. No. And again, that's the Lexington 2 kids that can't wear that.
All right, thank you. Next up is executive session. Mr. Chair, I have a motion that the board of trustees in closed session for the following: consideration of personnel appointments and resignations, consideration of 3 requests for out-of-district restraint, discussion of personnel matters, discussion of property matters, and discussion of professional matters. We have a motion, we have a second. Second by all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We're now in executive session. If we give David a few minutes. We're now in executive session.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that the meeting be reconvened in executive session and appropriate affidavits.
Okay, we have a motion, and a second by Ms. Moody. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The results of discussions in executive session, any motion put forward.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve all personnel appointments and resignations.
Have a motion and a second. Second by Ms. Moody. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve student aid to return to Airport High School for a senior year.
We have a motion to approve tuition waiver for the Airport High School senior. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Wood. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve student B to attend Airport High, pending approval of facilitators, grades, and equipment.
So we have a motion to approve student B tuition waiver. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Wood. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to extend the length of the contract in order to include the deed of record for property of the Hayward.
Okay, we have a motion, do I have a second? Second by Ms. Wood. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next, we got an announcement. Obviously, we will meet again on September the 20th, which will be our August 20th, September. August 20th for our regular third Thursday meeting. And then school will start. First day of school is September the 8th, where kids will begin. And then I have one other announcement that I wanted to make. Obviously, it's that time of year where everybody is signing up and registering for office. I think officially August 1st through the 15th is signing up period for elections. I have made the decision that I will be retiring from the school board and leaving at the end of my term in November. So I am not going to be signing up to run again. And I just want everybody to know that. I've enjoyed working with you, and I'll enjoy working with you up until my time ends in November. But I want to give the opportunity for anybody that's going to sign up to run, that they'll have the opportunity to know that I'm not going to get up and see. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn a second. All in favor say aye. Aye.